guy Suki from BTSTV, fueled by explosive vape and gold standard nutrition. This is the first one we're doing of one-to-one interviews. And look, this guy was top of my list. I dropped him a message. He only just came back from Brazil Wednesday afternoon. It's now Friday, 8 o'clock. I don't know if he's on Brazil time, Las Vegas time, but I want to give him a proper introduction. So I'm going to start with this. 2018, he did his first ever show. He came first in his class, second overall. 2 years later, 2020, he did his first ever Classic Physique show. Won the overall. That's 2020. 2 years later, he did his first attempt in a pro qualifier in Classic Physique. He got his pro status. This was in July 2022. 2 months later, probably less than 2 months later, he made his pro debut in probably one of the biggest shows of the year, the Arnold in the UK. Yes, he finished last, but that was only 2 months after he won his pro card. He took another 2 years out. 2024, what happened? Made his rookie year start at a Toronto Pro, Olympia qualifier, from last place to perfect score, Olympia ticket, and then guys, look, we know the rest. Top 12, 11th place, Olympia debut. That can only be one person. Niall Darwen. How about that for an intro?
A hell of an intro, man. Best one I think I've ever had, without a doubt. So yeah, got everything right as well.
How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing good, you know. Good to be back home.
Let me just jump in here, mate. 2018, 2020, 22, 2024. You seem to having a lot of success every 2 years. I'm hoping you're going to break the cycle in 2025. So just tell me this. I want to end this straight away. You're not going to take a year out, are you, for 2026?
No. We'll be back on stage next year.
Good man. Well, look, I kind of start my narrative, and I really want to just kind of start from 2018 very quickly, because I want to jump on Olympia. That's the big topic. But very quickly, 2018, you won your first men's physique class, and you also came second overall.
Yeah.
What got you into bodybuilding, mate?
It's a combination of different things. So I was already lifting because I was playing American football back then, you know, so a lot of heavy lifting, sort of powerlifting training, and I was very into just studying and learning a lot more about it. I used all different kind of sources, you know, YouTube. I used to read tons of articles from different writers and stuff online, and then it was actually the first thing that ever got me into it was my dad got me one of the muscle and fitness magazines because he knew I was getting into the gym. And Sadiq Hadzovic was on the cover. That was back when he was competing.
What year was this?
You know, this would have been 2017. So I only started going to the gym 2017. So it was quite a fast transition. You know, I'm an obsessive person. So when I first got into the gym, I was like, right, I want to know everything about it. You know, most people kind of have the first 1 or 2 years where they're just messing around with the gym. That wasn't for me. You know, I was like, right, I need to learn how to be good at this. So like 6 or 7 months in, you know, I'm watching all these videos, I'm learning about programming, you know, I'm learning about volume, I'm learning about nutrition. And yeah, my dad saw that, you know, I was serious about it. So he got me that magazine. And yeah, I was, you know, just flipping through the pages. And obviously, you know, when you just get into the gym, the open bodybuilding kind of physique doesn't always appeal to you. You can look at it and be like, wow, you know, that's impressive and crazy, but I don't really want to look like that. And then, you know, I saw Sadiq, like I said, I think he just won the Arnold Classic, maybe the year before, and it was an interview with him. So obviously, you know, from there I saw what men's physique was. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then I ended up getting injured and being pushed out of American football. And end of that year, I was like, you know, I still want to do something, you know, be some kind of athlete. So I kind of did a bit of research. I knew what body power was, which is where my first show was. So I quite literally just Googled body power competitions, clicked on the first one, signed up for it, and yeah, that was that.
Mate, and you're right, and that was that, because obviously you came first that one, second in the overall. I know you did another show in men's physique before you transitioned into Classic Physique. What I want to do, I'm going to jump straight into 2024 because we've seen your journey from the physique development going into this year, which is just astronomical. I mean, you posted a picture the other day, which I'm sure I'll bring up in a moment, of I think it was your first ever Classic Physique show versus where you're at now. But I want to jump into this one. So I want to bring this up. And this was very much a really breakout moment here. And that is this. You can see this, right?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
So this is the Toronto Pro 2024. Let me just read this caption. First place, from last place to a perfect score. So I want to ask this question. A lot of IP pros, when they are looking at the pro shows, there's loads of pro shows all over the world, Olympia qualified. It's all about selecting the right one. You chose to go stateside, so obviously in Canada. Toronto Pro, known as a very big pro show with a lot of good competitors, along with previous Olympia competitors. I want to find out, what was the reason for choosing that show as your first proper Olympia qualifier, being this your rookie season?
So, since I started training with my coach Callum, the goal was always to get to the Olympia. He's always had massive faith in me and my capabilities, and I think part of it was, he's just as invested in my bodybuilding career as I am. So he really wanted to make a statement. I do remember, it was whether we win the show or not, we are going to, put my name out there, put my physique out there, massively improved, basically come onto the scene out of nowhere, because, people who are paying attention to the industry wouldn't really have, you couldn't take me as, one of the top threats going into the show, because I hadn't beat a single pro. It's been 2 years almost at that time since I got my pro card. I have only done one show and placed last, and then obviously to come in with a completely improved physique. It's funny, I was actually lighter at Toronto than I was at the Arnold, obviously just completely transformed my physique. And yeah, we wanted to go in there, beat some names, stand against some good names, and kind of build up our momentum going into the Olympia if we could get that qualification. I'm not someone to run away from a challenge, as you've just seen from this weekend. There's plenty of shows right now that are a lot smaller, where I would easily be the favorite going into, but that's not what I want my career to be defined by. I want my career to be defined by basically taking on the biggest challenges and really pushing yourself to, new heights. And I think that's what kind of creates the best growth, and in the long term, it creates the best success as well.
Yeah, for sure. And you're right. It very much did put your name on the map. So fast forward going into Olympia. Let me just ask you, what was your weight at the Toronto Pro?
So I weighed in at 222 pounds for the Toronto Pro. I weighed in at 225 for the Arnold back in 2022.
So 3 pounds less. And then, of course, at the Olympia, what was your weight then?
We weighed in at 227 with the weight cap of 234 pounds.
Okay, so you got plenty to play with. Now, let's go into the Olympia. Let's be completely honest. 54 competitors. There was some talk about yourself, breaking into that top 15. That's where you want to be. In that place where you got 40 competitors or 16th place. So you and Cal has got a lot of faith in you. What was the goal going into Olympia in regards to placing?
So my personal goal, seeing how many people there were, seeing the caliber of athletes, my personal goal was to place. And again, it was that to stand next to some of the bigger names, obviously some of the bigger rookies as well. And it was to kind of repeat the Toronto process, not really be, I know I had a little bit more hype going into the Olympia, but, in comparison to some of the other athletes, for example, someone like Logan Franklin, who's consistently been a top placer that I ended up placing 2 placings ahead of, is to kind of stand next to those names, and show the strengths of my physique and show that I can stand with the top names in the industry, and then also just to come improved from Toronto, which I feel we managed to do.
So what was that like backstage? Because we always see the videos on people's YouTube channels where you see all the names, the Chris Bumstead, Breon, Wesley, all that backstage. What was going through your mind? Because it's very easy for somebody to maybe be backstage and be slightly daunted, because this is their first experience of something where you are against the best in the world. Some people can shy away from it. Some people actually elevate their game.
Yeah, I mean,
through your head there?
It's definitely a lot, like you said, there's nearly 60 guys there. And I think, and I'm not the only person that thinks this, This was the highest standard Classic Physique Olympia that we've had. I think every single person who placed, you know, there's no, sometimes you have Olympias where maybe the top 8 or the top 10 are like a whole different level, and then it kind of starts to dwindle. I think every single guy this year who placed and people who didn't place still brought absolutely insane physiques that, you know, if you put them into a regular lineup, they're just absolutely destroying the lineup. Now, the one thing I'm grateful for with doing the Arnold is I wasn't starstruck because I'd already had that experience. You know, the Arnold UK, you had people like Jay Cutler coming backstage. You had Branch Warren was there with Martin at the time. You know, Flex Wheeler was there with Andrew Jacked. Obviously, you know, Wesley Bizzers was there. Michael the Bull was there. I was standing on stage with those guys. So I kind of kept that in my head, you know, going into the Olympia, and just tried to have a little bit more, I guess, kind of confidence in myself and my abilities because, you know, as I said, I'd already beaten Olympians. I, you know, had really good feedback off 2 of the judges that would be on that judging panel, which, you know, is always good to hear. And then it was just a case of being very, very present, you know, trying not to just be overwhelmed by, you know, the amount of pros that I've been following on social media and watching on YouTube for the past 3 or 4 years. And now, you know, it's like you can't really kind of put them on that pedestal because you're going to be stood next to them in just a few minutes. And that was actually the least anxiety I've ever had on stage. I have in the past, the regional I did before I got my pro card, I had like massive amount of anxiety for whatever reason and ended up losing that show. It was the first time I ever lost my class as well. And from then, you know, it's been a case of just really, really building my confidence on stage. And the Olympia was the most relaxed and confident that I'd ever felt. And it was, you know, obviously, I think the first time I came out, I stood next to Michael the Bull, which, you know, is obviously consistently a top 6 placer. And I remember just having the confidence, feeling that, you know, I was holding my own next to him. And then the more times I went out on stage and the more I was, you know, when they called my name out for the second call out and I knew I was near to the center of that, that just kind of, you know, reassured me that I'm in the right place.
I was going to touch on that as well, but you've already kind of answered my question. I was going to touch on the fact that when your name was called out in that second call out, what did that do to your confidence? But like you said, that reassured you that, you know what, yes, I've arrived, I've made the impact I want. Did you get a chance to talk to any of the big names who were there, the Chris Bumstead, the Wesley Bissers? Obviously, I know you went head-to-head with Dino in Brazil. Did you get a chance to have a chat with any of them backstage? Because I'm assuming as well, you're also there to do a job, but also at the same time, your first time is always going to be an experience you're always going to remember. Did you get an opportunity to talk to any of the pros?
So I actually got to speak to Breon quite a bit. I think it was after, I'm going to say after the call-outs, after the comparisons, but before the call-outs. And, you know, he was very down-to-earth, really, really cool guy to speak to. Wesley, I had sat next to at the check-in, and he actually remembered me from the Arnold UK and said, you know, it was crazy to kind of see me here. And he said, you know, he did feel like I was going to surprise a lot of people on Saturday, which is obviously good to hear from, you know, someone that I've been looking up to for years and years. I spoke to Logan as well. I didn't get to speak to Chris. You know, he's kind of in his own, you know, Mr. Olympia's, he's in his own little area, just kind of getting ready to do what he's been doing the past 5 years. As I spoke to a little bit as well. I spoke to him a little bit more after the show. But yeah, like in general, all of the guys were very kind of open to conversation and stuff. It wasn't, you know, I've been to shows before and I am a little bit more reserved when I'm backstage, but that's usually kind of when we get to the, you know, when we start pumping up and we literally have 5 or 6 minutes before we're going to go on stage. I'm a little bit more reserved then, but in general, it was a very, very good atmosphere backstage, especially, you know, considering how competitive it was going to be.
When you came off stage and you eventually you realized that you took the 11th place, top 12, so close to top 10 as well, but 11th place, even beating some of the regular Olympia competitors, like you said, Logan Franklin being one of them after a couple of years out. At that point, did you realize that things have now changed for you? And when I say things have changed for you, is that your name is now one that when people see lineups, that's one of the men to beat. That comes with pressure because you've made your debut not in 16th place. You've made your debut just missing out our top 10. And now you're a name in the division. You've planted your flag. Did you feel that the moment you came up knowing things have now changed for me? You probably saw that as well on your socials, because I imagine that blew up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I didn't too much. Now, the only two times I did was seeing my name brought up on socials a lot, you know, and seeing myself tagged in posts that are getting thousands of likes and stuff, and plenty of people having conversations in the comment sections. Then I kind of started to realize it. And the other time was when I arrived in Brazil, and kind of, you know, the sort of reaction from the other Brazilian athletes to myself being there. But I, like, as my own person, no, I don't feel that pressure. And I think the reason is I'm not at my goal yet, and I'm not satisfied. You know, a lot of people were saying to me, after I won Toronto, "Oh, did it set in? When's it going to set in?" And it never really did, you know. And I think that's because I'm not the kind of person that rests when I, you know, have a success or achieve something, because it's not my ultimate goal. So, you know, with the way it was with Callum, you know, we're already back on our diet now. You know, I'm getting my workout plan off him tomorrow. You know, our goals, our shows already picked out. Like, it's, I still have more that I, you know, desire to achieve. So I don't think that, again, you know, I'm absolutely over the moon with a placing, and you know, really, I couldn't have asked for a better rookie season, to be honest. But I'm not sort of, you know, absolutely stressed about. I don't want to be 11th place again next year. You know, I want to be higher. So now it's a case of me really reflecting and looking at myself and saying, right, what do I need to do to beat this version of me that's just been on stage this season instead? So there's that kind of pressure. But as far as, you know, sensing other people thinking, oh, this is an 11th place guy, in my head I want more. So I'm not just you know, overwhelmed by that kind, or consumed by that placing or that number.
So let me just, you just talked about Brazil. I want to touch on this one. I want to touch on this. Got a few questions around this, and I want to explain my reason for this question. You've come out of Olympia, and there's a lot of talk, a lot of hype around you. And, you know, people talking about that. Okay, you know what? This is one of the guys that could move up the ranks. Now Chris has taken a step away. Niall is one to look on, as well as some others. You chose to do the Brazil Olympia qualifier, the Brazil Olympia. There were other Olympia qualifiers. There was one in the UK. There were some other European ones as well. The reason why I want to touch on those ones is, what was the reason for choosing the Brazil Olympia, where you're going to go head to head with the pop star, the superstar of Brazil, the face of Brazil bodybuilding, Dino, versus some of the European ones, which in my eyes look like near enough a shoo-in that you would have probably taken that early Olympia qualifier spot. I'm really interested to understand the reason for the show decision.
So again, if you have a look at I think the post that Callum did on the show, you know, we went straight into the deep end is how we described it. And, you know, we knew this was an opportunity, really. Yes, you know, I could have gone and probably done another show in Europe or done a show here and qualified, you know, relatively easily. That's not any kind of offense to the other athletes, you know, they're great athletes, but I don't think that there's many people who are doing a pro qualifier the week after the Olympia who isn't from the Olympia that, you know, would have a chance against me right now. I just don't see it that way. It's not, you know, I don't hold myself to that kind of standard. But to speak on the Brazil show, you know, if I have the opportunity to stand against a top 4 Olympian, a guy who's been second, you know, why would I not take that? Now, me and Cal, you know, we fully believe that when the time is right, I will qualify for the 2025 Olympia. That's still one of my goals. But now I'm going to be going into, you know, if I qualify, I'm going to be going into the Olympia with people knowing what I looked like stood next to Ramon a year ago. And obviously, you know, I think when I did stand next to him, it actually, you know, was a bit of a better comparison than most people thought. You know, I had plenty of feedback. I had Brazilians coming up to me, you know, before finals saying, I actually prefer your physique. I had people telling me they thought I was going to win. I thought I deserved to win. Now, you know, I'm not going to speak on that. You know, the judging is the judging. And I do think they got it right. But, you know, to kind of have that sort of buzz, you know, that realistically, that would have or should have been a show that Ramon just, you know, he was leagues above and there wasn't really any room for comparison, but there was room for comparison. And I think that shows how good I am right now and what I'm capable of. And, you know, that's going to be something that people will want to see, you know, in a year's time, me, an improved version of myself stood next to Ramon, you know.
And that's exactly the answer I thought you would give, because historically you have done your first ever pro qualifier, you jumped into the Arnolds in the deep end. In your rookie season, you didn't choose the European show, you jumped straight into a show in North America, in Canada, in the Trial Pro. And then, of course, no surprise, the first show you do after Olympia is in the Lion's Den. And I did see Cal's post in regards to jumping in the deep end. And my thought was this as well. I'm going to echo exactly what the socials were saying. That was so close between yourself and Dino. In fact, I do want to just grab some of these people that are on the socials. I do want to share, because I just want to grab it here. Where is it? There we go. Okay, here we go. Can you see this one?
Yeah.
This one, I mean, this looked phenomenal. Did you think third place was the right finish for yourself? Did you think maybe you were a little bit closer? Keen to hear your thoughts on this.
So I did hear the feedback from the judges that it was very close between, you know, myself and second place. Now, personally, you know, me and Carl, we came in a lot fuller for this one. This was like, I've had a lot of people tell me this was their favorite look because, you know, it was the most full-blown version of myself. You know, our waist was still really tight, but with, you know, fuller lats and arms and pecs, it just made me look a lot bigger. But, you know, my conditioning, I think through the quads really suffered a little bit slightly. And obviously that's due to 15 hours of flying to get to Sao Paulo, you know, obviously retaining a little bit more weight and then trying to drop that back down. You know, being in a different time zone again, not having my coach there this time, you know, it was a lot to deal with. And I'm more than happy that we were able to bring a look. When you take all that stress into consideration, you know, some bodybuilders' physiques can fall apart. You know, just dealing with all that, and the fact that I managed to, you know, put it together with Cal, and despite him being in a completely different time zone, halfway across the world, and we were actually able to bring a physique where people are saying, you know, I actually prefer this look over Ramon, or I feel like this should have beat Ramon. You know, I think that's in itself an achievement. But as far as the placing, I'm okay with it because the conditioning that the other two guys brought was definitely ahead of myself.
I did a recap the other day, and Yemi and Kaya was on there, Matt Parker, and my response was that though you came third place, I thought you probably came out of it better than Dino winning the show. And the reason for that was there was the actual solid conversation and debate that maybe Niall could actually take this win in Brazil. I mean, I was showing videos of the show on the page, and you could hear the screaming from the crowd when Dino was on stage. You are dealing with a very Dino strong fan base, which, you know, you can imagine.
I've never heard a bodybuilding crowd like that in my life. It was like I was at a football match, you know, like a championship game. Honestly, you could feel the floor vibrating from the crowd screams every time Ramon was out, and that was on the stage and that was backstage. You know, obviously I was aware of the Brazilian fans. We all hear, you know, how passionate they are, but to experience it and then to be able to be lucky enough to experience it when, you know, probably their most popular bodybuilder in the entire country is out there, you know, it was a different level.
Yeah, because I was a little worried that when you're going to do the Brazil show, I was worried the fact that I hope he gets judged fairly. And when I say that, it's because obviously it's a Brazil show, there's a lot of Brazilian competitors. You just come out of a lot of hype over in Olympia, having placed 11th. I was obviously nervous that, oh my God, I really hope they judge this right. I mean, straight away, it was clear. But they were like, yeah, you know what? Get Darwen next to Dino.
Yeah.
This is a straight up shootout in that top 3. And that was always the case throughout pre-judging and finals. So let's just jump into 2025. I don't know if you can give away too much, but I'd love to get an idea about the plans that might be put in place. It seems that Cal has always been very strategic when it comes to planning the next moves, and you already kind of indicated there is a gap at the moment where the weight you're at Olympia versus your current weight cap you have in Classic Physique. Are you able to disclose maybe any plans we could expect in 2025, as in maybe some shows you're targeting, the time of year?
So I won't say the exact shows yet, but I can say the time period. So it'll be around late summer. Again, the shows will be stateside. We always plan for multiple shows. You know, it's just good to have a couple of shows, you know, roughly planned out. Again, I actually had 3 shows planned out for this season, but because I ended up winning Toronto, we just shut it down for the Olympia. But yeah, the next time I'll be on stage will be late summertime. And again, it'll be on an American stage. And it'll be the biggest stage that I've been on so far, you know, in terms of a regular pro show. That's what I'll say for now.
Late summer. So I'm working this out. Are we talking about August, September time?
Yeah, we're talking around that time.
Why do I feel that maybe Texas could be up there?
That could be it. That could be it. I won't 100%.
I know. Right now. But also, let me throw this to you as well. There are rumors. I know I did a post the other day just through people that I know in the industry. There is a chance that the Arnold UK is going to be in September next year. If that is announced, could that be a show that might take your fancy?
Absolutely. You know, the only reason I had written the Arnolds off this year was because they were simply too early. You know, what I went through to improve my physique from the Olympia, from Toronto to the Olympia, you know, it really, really put me in a hole in terms of just being truly exhausted, you know, mentally and physically spent by the end, and then having to pull energy out of nowhere for another week, you know, to go into Brazil and stand against Brazil's favorite. You know, I really needed a break, and I know that if I compete again in March, I don't think I'll be able to bring the improvements that I need to bring to, you know, keep my, I guess, momentum going and keep myself in the conversation, and also just place the way I want to place. So I think that if I have this off season now, you know, and start to get ready for shows around April time instead, then you'll see a completely, you know, revamped and improved version of my physique.
Well, I'm hearing that the Arnold UK could be in September, probably very close to where the Olympia is. So maybe we'll have to wait for more information on that. Look, I just want to just jump on this one finally, and this is around the UK scene for Classic Physique. It's booming at the moment. Yemi just won his Olympia ticket, so we know there's going to be another UK compared to the Olympia 2025, because I've already got to get ahead of myself saying that you'll be there. So I don't like to jinx anything at the moment. But also there are other competitors that have been competing this year. Liam Watson just won his pro status in the other month in Classic Physique. So did Julio, who came second behind Yemi. Josh Bridgman's competed over in America. Classic Physique is absolutely booming in the UK. So I'm really keen to throw out to you, because let's face it, you are now the poster boy for the UK for Classic Physique, with that high placing in the at the Olympia, and of course winning the Toronto Pro and third at the Olympia Brazil. Give me 3 names on the UK Classic Physique scene that you feel, you know what, these are 3 names that I could see making the Olympia stage, whether it's 2025 or 2026. I'm going to take Yemi out of this in a moment, because he's already won his ticket, and there's a lot to talk about him anyway. But give me 3 other names.
So 3 names. I think Julio can do it in the next 2 years. You know, I was super impressed. And obviously, you know, Yemi's a good friend of mine, and I know that Julio pushed him at that pro show, which is, you know, crazy and, like, you know, amazing for him and Zach. You know, I'm very, very proud of him. I saw him compete last year, I guess, post at one of the shows he ended up taking the overall for, and I was blown away by his physique then, you know. And obviously this show, I believe it was a 1-point decision between him and Yemi. So, you know, to really be pushing someone who's competed consistently at the pro level. And Yemi's done well before. You know, he was in the first call out at Ireland. Obviously, he was in the top 4 at the Europa show, and now he's, you know, Olympia qualified. So that's someone who is, you know, in general, always first call out material. So you're pushing a very high level pro there. And I think that Julio's, you know, he's only going to get better. I know what he's like. He's a very humble, hardworking guy. You know, he just kind of gets on with things. He's not someone who talks too much. You know, Zach's a great coach, and I think they're a great team. And I fully believe that. I believe they can probably get to the Olympia next year, but you know, 2026, I can almost guarantee it there.
Well, crazy
my
to think
second,
that.
yeah,
Crazy. So I just want to talk very quickly. I mean, this picture of Julio is absolutely crazy, but also just saying that he's 20 pounds shy of the cap weight. So
it's ridiculous.
That's super exciting. Yeah, it's gonna be nuts to see some extra weight on this physique because it looks quality. Who's your second name?
Second name is going to be Jack Eagles there.
No surprise you mentioned Jack Eagles. Go on, explain a bit more.
Obviously, you know, young man, the youngest, I think probably the youngest IFBB pro that we've ever had on the men's side, at least. You know, just someone that you look at his post and you read his captions, you know, and you can see that he's just got that kind of, you know, that sort of machine mentality, like Neil Curry, rest in peace, you know, but that, like, he just ticks every box every day. And, you know, I've even seen things about him talking about his own training and how he's kind of realized that, you know, he was talking about just shifting weight just to shift weight. And now he's realized that that wasn't reflecting in his physique. And when you get someone with that kind of maturity and that ability to kind of release their ego and do whatever is best for their physique to improve, you have a very dangerous bodybuilder. So, I mean, the progression that he's had in his off season since he got his pro card is crazy anyway. You know, he's super young, so his ceiling is so far away. And I believe he's starting prep soon if he hasn't already. And I do think that 2025, again, he's another one that can do it. If he doesn't, and 2026, you know, I can almost guarantee it again.
Saying I can see on his post here, and I saw it the other day as well, waking up weighing at 250 pounds. He's got
he's heavier than me
212
right
limit. Now. I know, crazy. And the third name, who's the third person?
So my third one, there's quite a few guys, you know, that I'm fans of here, but I'm going to go with Marky James.
Yep.
Because, again, he's turned pro naturally, and the amount of improvements that he had in his off-season was just absolutely ridiculous. You know, he's a very, very dense guy. His conditioning was you know, he got better and better through this season. And he's just absolutely massive, you know. I mean, these pictures are ridiculous. If you saw what he looked like a year ago, I guess posed with him, you know, last summer, and this is, it looks like a completely different person. You know, if you cropped his head off any of his pictures now, I wouldn't believe it's the same guy. And he's another one that, again, he keeps getting better and better. And I have full faith in him that he's someone that can be pushing you know, top 3s, top 5s consistently in shows, just as he gets better with time. And I think, you know, by 2026 he's someone that can be qualifying for Olympias. Again, there's more guys as well, but if you had to, you know, as you said, you asked me for my top 3, Yemi aside, because he's done it, and that's going to be my top 3 guys that I'm keeping my eyes on.
So let's just finish on this, mate. Let's say, let's just say this: you go do your shows. I'm saying Texas is in there. I'm saying Texas in 2025. But let's say you do your shows, you qualify for Olympia. My money's on you anyway to be on my lineup in 2025. You say you don't come 11th place again. Where, in regards to stepping stones, because it's very easy, you know, people these days cannot be realistic when it comes to stepping stones. They turn pro, and I see a lot of things straight away. Like they want to get to Olympia straight away. I mean, yes, you took 2 years out before you came back after the Arnold Classic. What is the goal next year? Should you qualify for the Olympia? I'm going to change my words again. When you qualify for the Olympia, what is the goal?
So I fully believe that what me and Cal are capable of is pushing that top 6, top 5, you know. I mean, we did just push Ramon at his own show in his own country, you know, and that was without some of those guys there. And I genuinely think that with the improvements that, and the, you know, the weight that I am able to gain, and just knowing myself and how I am as an athlete, and kind of the way I, the way I sort of structure my off seasons from a mental and physical point of view, I genuinely think that if all, the stars align and I tick every single box I need to, I can be pushing that top 6, top 5 spot, and I think I can get back in a call out and stand next to Ramon again, but this time on the Olympia stage.
Sounds good, man. Because if you're saying top 5, that means you're overtaking Wesley, overtaking Michael, overtaking Jose. But hey, look, what Chris Bump said, stepping out, I know about a lot of people would now be eyeing at the one spot, but that's definitely one to get excited about. Look, mate, I really appreciate you jumping on this, especially given the fact that it's been like a day and a half you've returned back to the UK. So, mate, look, I want to wish you the best of luck for the off-season. No doubt I probably will get you back on at some point in 2025. But look, mate, many congratulations again. I just want to say the whole UK bodybuilding is super proud of what you did. And I really hope you saw from the socials that, you know what, you really have planted a flag, not just in Toronto, not just Olympia, but, worldwide. Your name is out there, and I'm so excited to see what happens next for yourself. So well done to yourself. Well done to your coach, Cal. And look, mate, once again, thank you for being part of it.